Hare Congress, Shila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai Vishnu Patwarama Hamsa Kaviraj Akacharya Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Acharya Shila Haridas Thakur ki Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki Jai Ramanandan ki Jai Mangalam ki Jai Puridam ki Jai Ganga Mai ki Jai Yamuna Mai ki Jai Devi ki Jai Bhakti Devi ki Jai Harinam Sankirtanya ki Jai Transcendental Book Production Distribution ki Jai Prasadam Distribution ki Jai Gaura Premanande All glories to the assembled All glories to the assembled All glories to the assembled All glories to Shikuru and Shikoranga All glories to Shila Prabhupada Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare hare-rama hare-rama Rama-rama hare-hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva. Jaya Goranitai, Jaya Goranitai, Jaya Goranita, Jaya Goranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 10, Text 54. It's a very interesting text. Very it's about relationships, so stay tuned. Everyone likes to hear about relationships. We'll see, maybe Vedic perspective is a bit different than the mundane perspective they have nowadays, but anyway. So we'll read this text and then we'll try to say something and not get killed. Anyway. Kapatni vratadaro Rajarshi charita shuchi Swadharmam griha mediyam Shikshayan svayam acharat Ekapatni vratadaro Rajarshi charita shuchi Swadharmam griha mediyam Shikshayan svayam acharat Ekapatni vratadaro Rajarshi charita shuchi Swadharmam griha mediyam Shikshayan svayam acharat Ekapatni vratadaro Rajarshi charita shuchi Swadharmam griha mediyam Shikshayan svayam acharat Ekapatni vratadaro Rajarshi charita shuchi Swadharmam griha mediyam Shikshayan svayam acharat. Ekapatni vratadaro Rajarshi charita shuchi Dharma griha vediyam Ekapatni vratadara, taking a vow not to accept a second wife or to have any connection with any other woman. Rajarishi, like a saintly king. Charita, whose character. Shuchi, pure. Swadharma, one's own occupational duty. Griha Mediam, especially of persons situated in household life. Shikshayan, teaching by personal behavior. Svayam, personally. Acharat, executed his duty. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Lord Ramachandra took a vow to accept only one wife and have no connection with any other women. He was a saintly king, and everything in his character was good, untinged by qualities like anger. He taught good behavior for everyone, especially for householders, in terms of varnashrama dharma. Thus, he taught the general public by his personal activities. Purport. Ekapatni Vrata, accepting only one wife, was the glorious example set by Lord Ramachandra. One should not accept more than one wife. In those days, of course, people did marry more than one wife. Even Lord Ramachandra's father accepted more wives than one. But Lord Ramachandra, as an ideal king, accepted only one wife, Mother Sita. When Mother Sita was kidnapped by Ravana and the Rakshasas, Lord Ramachandra, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could have married hundreds and thousands of Sitas. But to teach us how faithful he was to his wife, he fought with Ravana and finally killed him. The Lord punished Ravana and rescued his wife to instruct men to have only one wife. Lord Ramachandra accepted only one wife and manifested sublime character, thus setting an example for householders. A householder should live according to the ideal of Lord Ramachandra, who showed how to be a perfect person. Being a householder or living with a wife and children is never condemned, provided one lives according to the regulative principles of Varnashrama. Those who live in accordance with these principles, whether as householders, brahmacharis, or vanaprastha, are all equally important. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Pinamine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Well, as I said, it's a very sensitive topic. There's I don't know if I'm qualified to speak on it. I try to give a few Vedic perspectives on this topic. So there's one interesting affirmation Srila Prabhupada makes in the purport. He says, in those days, of course, people did marry more than one wife. So it was quite common. It was common that some men had more than one wife. And you would think, why does it happen? You know, how come? Why? And there's a simple mathematic that can explain this. Srila Prabhupada said that all women should marry and all men should remain brahmacharis. And then they were saying, so who will the women marry with? You know, like, how will they do it? So then Srila Prabhupada said, don't worry, no, there will be someone. Not all the men will remain brahmachari. So that's, but a bit about why women are traditionally they get married. There's somehow natural relationship, a natural relationship between men and women. And mostly women, they seek some shelter in men. It's natural. Like I'll give you an example. I met a high court judge, one Mataji. I mean, she was in Romania. They have a top judge council, which is like 7 people, and she was one of them. So she was quite, like from material perspective, she was quite very, very high related. And somehow we met and we were talking, and I felt that she was seeking shelter. She was this top judge, like really like top. And she was naturally seeking shelter and instructions from me. That's something natural in the Vedic culture. So you can see another very simple example, very clear example is sometimes young men come to Krishna consciousness, and the next person to come to our program is their mother. No, their mother. It's never their father. Their father never, ever comes for programs. I mean, if he's dragged by the mother, then that's other thing. But usually, because there's a natural structure, the father is the guru for the son. So the father will never accept instructions from the son. It never happens. Sometimes it happens, but of course there are exceptions. But this is the natural way it works. And the mother, in Vedic culture, the women are always under protection. First under the protection of the father, then under the protection of the husband, and then after, when the husband takes sannyas, they are under the protection of the son. So that's the reason why naturally mothers are more inclined to accept some instructions from their sons. Because it's natural, like this varnashrama system is not something stupid, like, oh, some guy invented, No, it's just natural. You can see in life. I met so many young devotees who their mothers are positive and they listen and they do something. Maybe not, and their fathers never. It's not. So that's the idea. That's one idea. So women, that's one reason why women usually need to get married. It's quite rare when they don't. For men, it's a bit different, just a bit. Usually, in Vedic culture, men will stay brahmachari until 25. That's when they are young, they go to Gurukul. And also, not all of them go to Gurukul. Mostly the higher castes, the Shudras don't go to Gurukul because the Shudras cannot study. So it's impossible. So they just, Shudras get married and that's it. They have to work, they cannot study. And then usually the other castes, they stay the Gurukul until 25. It's more or less. And they study Vedic, and also these studies are based on their propensities. Like this Varnashrama system is very scientific. If someone is a Vaishya by nature, you don't teach him how to do yagya, you'll teach him how to do business. And also, like we have the Pandavas, they were high devotees, but they were kshatriyas officially. So they were teaching the art of war and how to do management and so on. Dhanurveda and other Vedic scriptures which are for kshatriyas. And usually you will have most of these would marry, and some of them will decide that, okay, this marriage is not for me. they will just remain brahmachari and eventually take sannyas. And this was usually the people with brahminical qualities. That was more or less the arrangement. So some people would not, some of the men will not get married. So then, if it's equal population, then some. And as Mataji says, nowadays it's even not. But even in that, if it's equal, still some men will not get married. So, and there was this arrangement that some men would have more wives. It was usually the kshatriyas who had more wives, because kshatriyas are quite opulent and they can maintain. Because it's the duty of a husband to maintain the wife. It was not just to, okay, I have 5 wives, okay, but and they have this saying that if there's 2 Matajis in the same kitchen, it's a disaster. It's a problem. So every wife has to have her own kitchen and proper arrangement. So yeah, that is and also. Every one of these wives should be pleased. So that was really, I don't know, it was probably quite a challenge. And there's many cases where you see that there were problems because of this. Like you have Maharaj Chitraketu. He had 10 million wives. Don't ask how he did that. How he would manage that, having 10 million wives and keeping them satisfied. And Maharaj Chitraketu had 10 million wives, and they were all barren. They couldn't get any children. He couldn't get children from 10 million wives. Anyway, and there was a very interesting arrangement, and somehow he got one child, and everyone was happy. And Angira Muni told him, "Oh, they will call him Harsha Shoka. Harsha means happiness, and Shoka means distress." As he said, yes, like we usually do. Yeah, bring the happiness, and the distress, we'll see about it later. It will come later. So this everyone was very happy that finally the king got a child. Also, for a king, he should have a child, because someone should continue ruling properly the kingdom. So they were all very happy. And then, but after getting a child, Maharaj Chitraketu was more inclined towards that wife who had this child. And the other 9,999,999, they were a bit feeling neglected. So it was so bad, they felt neglected so bad that eventually they decided to poison this child. So they poisoned this child, and it was like, then Maharaj Chitraketu got it. Anyway, the idea was the idea from this. There's many to that story, but the idea is that it's if you don't treat the wives properly, there will be equally there will be problems, and there usually were problems. Like also in this purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions Lord Ramachandra's father, where something similar, somehow similar, happened. King Dasharatha had only 3 wives, and actually everything was fine. You know, everyone loved everyone. Only 3. So he had only 3 wives. So and he had 4 children, which are very nice and plenary. Vishnu Tattva. So it's very, very nice. Everyone liked everyone, so it was all good. Until one day the servant Mandara, I think, of one of the wives, a younger wife, who was somehow his favorite. She started poisoning Kaikei against, yeah, look, but you know, now they are gonna do the coronation of Rama, and your son Bharata, what will happen to him? He will be exiled because Rama doesn't like him, and all sorts of these crazy things. And she was poisoning, and due to bad association, at some point Kaikei was like convinced. She was really convinced that, oh, this Rama is my enemy. So then, when she was convinced the night before this coronation, she made a plan. They made a big plan how to convince Maharaj Dasharatha to make Bharata king. So there was it's a really interesting scene. Like Kaikei, they have a chamber where they are crying and they are lamenting. Like, oh, and Queen Kaikei went to this chamber and she was like, ah, ah. And then King Dasharatha was coming every day. He came to see his wife, and they said, "Where is she?" Whoa, in this lamenting chamber, and he went there, and she was like, "Wah!" The tear weapon, and then Dasharatha, "What's wrong with you?" And eventually, after some time, she's doing good. After some time, she said, "Oh, it's really bad, and you don't want to help me." Yes, no, I will do anything. Yes, okay, you'll do anything. Yes, okay. You remember you promised. I had 2 boons. You promised at some point. Yes, of course I remember. At some point, they were on the battlefield. And these are kshatriyas, and also the female kshatriyas. They are also quite powerful and strong, and they are warriors. They are not. And at some point, King Dasharatha was really in trouble on the battlefield, and Kaikei somehow took him and from the battlefield and brought him into safety. And then. When he says, "Oh, I'm so thankful, I can give you 2 boons," and she said, "No problem, later. We will take this later." So then, at this point, she said, "Remember those 2 boons?" Yes, I remember. Okay, it's time. So what's these 2 boons? One is I want Bharata to be the king. It was like, oh my God. And then she said, and the second is that I want you to banish into exile Lord Ramachandra for 14 years. King Dasharatha was destroyed. He was like really destroyed. But somehow he was pressured, and somehow she was like, "You promised. You're a king. You have to do it." Okay. 14. So. Yeah, eventually he did it, and eventually King Dasharatha died during Lord Ramachandra's exile due to broken heart. So yeah, that's just some nice stories about the problems of having more wives. So positive. So it's really hard to please more wives and treat them equally. Only Krishna can do it. So Krishna had 16,108 wives, and they were all very pleased, and all of them had their own palace and servants and everything, and Krishna expanded in all of these palaces. And when Narada Muni was checking out, like, how does he manage? Like he has 16,108 wives.
how can he handle this? So he saw that in each palace, Krishna was expanding and doing something different with each of his wives. Yeah, Narada Muni went to a few palaces, and then after he was like, okay, he's doing all right. So the idea is that only Krishna can satisfy more wives. It was not always problems, but it was mainly full of problems. And so Lord Ramachandra gave example that it's better to have one wife. But also for one wife, you can see that Lord Ramachandra was in big trouble due to this. Of course, this is just Leela. We don't think Lord Ramachandra was really in trouble. But yeah, there's some classical problems with family. If you have a wife, then sometimes women have some material desires. Like Sita really wanted to have this golden deer. There was Ravana made this plan how to kidnap Sita, and Maricha, one of his associates, was disguised as golden deer. And when Sita said, "Yay, I have to have this deer," yeah, very nice, very nice. It will look really good in our ashram. They were in a forest, but they needed a golden deer. So Lord Ramachandra had to go and provide. Like, you're the husband. You have to bring this golden deer to me. And he said, "No, it's a demon. No, you have to go and bring the golden deer." And of course, we know that this golden deer dragged Lord Ramachandra away, and then Maricha, disguised with the voice of Lord Rama, who was in trouble, like, "Lakshman, please help!" And then Lakshman had to go and help Lord Ramachandra, and then Sita was alone, and they had this circle in which no one could enter, but Ravana came disguised as a Brahmana, and it was like, so eventually he kidnapped Sita. So that's just one example that sometimes if you have to fulfill material desires, you go into a lot of trouble. You have to get the golden deer, and there's really problems. Then there's, of course, usually Matajis want children. It's natural. And we know that the purpose of life is to produce Krishna-conscious children. The purpose of sex, sorry. And there's an arrangement which is made in this material world. There's some happiness in this sex life, very little, because otherwise no one else will be interested to produce children. So that's the arrangement. So this sex life is the price for this sex life is there's a cheap price and a expensive price. The cheap price is that you have to have children and raise them. And the expensive price you pay at Yamaraj, like when you don't pay the taxes, then the tax collectors will come and say, but if they come at your house and ask you why you didn't pay taxes, then it's already not the same price. It's, you pay bigger price. We're not gonna be going in this direction too much. But yeah, so the only reason for having children is to raise them in, if you understand how things are working, is that you want to do it as a service to raise them in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there's no reason to have children, There's no reason for sex life. And these children might be Krishna conscious or not. That's like you can want them to be Krishna conscious, or but they might want something else. So there's some examples. There's Advaitacharya, who is Advaitacharya, is Vishnu Tattva, is Mahavishnu, and he had 6 children, and 3 of them were devotees, and 3 of them were not. So imagine, I mean, you can think, oh, we're devotees, our child will become a devotee. Maybe, maybe not. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had a few children. One of them was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, but not all of them were devotees. So yes, similar. It's really, it's tricky. You might have good children. You might do everything you need to do, but so you might have some children who are don't really want to be devotees. Like you have Maharaj Anga. Maharaj Anga was a very pious king. So he had a child who was called Vena. Vena was really the most horrible son you could have. Vena was, when they were playing with the children, he was playing with the children, like people, like children usually play in the sun, and sometimes he would kill his playmates. He was that cruel, this Vena. And Maharaj Anga tried to correct him a few times. This way, that way, talking, punishing, nothing worked. And eventually Maharaj Anga said, it's enough. This family life is enough for me. I'm going to the forest and meditating. And so he meditated, went to the forest and started meditating on Krishna. So that worked out. So that's I'm sorry, I was a bit just putting on things on this side, because usually when we come from the modern society has a very idealistic view on the family life. Things will be, and they will love each other ever after, and so on. It's full of problems. But just to put the other things in perspective. So family life means a lot of problems, and as our dear Bhaktavatsala Nitai Prabhu likes to say, there must be anxiety. So you can choose that, or you can choose living in the temple and preaching Krishna consciousness in a different capacity, and then there's also anxiety. So when we tell people that these books on yoga meditation tells you how to get free from stress, we're mostly, in a way, we're not lying, but we're not telling the full truth. So the full truth is that there must be anxiety, and you just choose what type of anxiety you want to have. You want to have the anxiety of how to enjoy in the material world, or you want to have the anxiety of how to please Krishna. And for some time they might look really similar. They look similar. Sometimes you see devotees here are very stressed when you have festivals, when you have Harinam Sankirtan tours and so on. You see, there's some anxiety. But this type of anxiety is purifying. And this is the actual anxiety we should have. And it's not so much about family life is not so much a problem. The problem with family life is not so much about externals, it's more about consciousness. As Srila Prabhupada says in in the purport that being a householder or living with a wife and children is never condemned, provided one lives according to the regulative principles of Varnashrama Dharma. Those who live in accordance with these principles, whether as householders, brahmacharis, or vanaprasthas, are all equally important. So that's the idea that there should be anxiety, and the anxiety should not be too much about these family things. It should be about how to serve Krishna. And if you have a family, you can try to be Krishna conscious and help family members become Krishna conscious. And if you don't have a family, you can be Krishna conscious and help others become Krishna conscious. And that's it. That's the whole idea. Okay, I guess that's it. That's the idea. There must be anxiety, so we choose what type of anxiety we want to have. Okay, I'll stop here. I hope I won't get killed, but anyway. If there's some questions, concerns.
Very humble. But this 14-year exile of Ramachandra, how long were the Pandavas exiled?
14 years.
Yeah.
Well, what is behind this 14 years? Do you know? Because it's both 40 years. I was wondering why 14.
Probably it's. I don't know. I can speculate if you want.
Why not life? Why not the whole life?
In this case, as far as I remember, the idea was that after 14 years, I don't know why exactly 14, but Bharata will be king. That was the idea of Mandara. Bharata will be king, and after 14 years, people will forget Rama. And then when he comes back, it doesn't matter anymore. So it's just that it's enough time that people forget. Probably with Pandavas also were very appreciated by the people. So they're like, you stay away for some time, and when you come back, everyone will forget who you are. That's my understanding. I don't know.
Why 14 years? Accept.
Okay, something else. Some concerns. Okay, thank you. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.